Welcome back. I'm Catherine from the Insomnia Clinic, and I'm going to be doing a series of videos around how to improve your sleep. So the first video that I wanted to get started with today is to talk to you about the only 3 things which you need to sleep well. So if you're a poor sleeper, which you probably are if you found these videos, you will have Googled it and there's pages and pages of information about all the different things that we need to sleep well. But actually, what we know from a cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia perspective is actually we don't need to try that hard to sleep well. We just need to make sure that we're dealing with the right part of the problem. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is these 3 things that we need to sleep well. So the first thing is our sleep drive. Now, our sleep drive is the most important way that our sleep is controlled. So if you imagine the sleep drive is a bit like an elastic band, when you wake up in the morning, you start stretching this elastic band throughout the day. It gets tighter and tighter and tighter as the day goes on. Now, the ideal scenario is that by the time you get into bed at night, that elastic band is as tight as it can possibly be, ready to snap. And then what you would find is that you would fall asleep quicker and you would take back a nice deep quality of sleep. Now, what tends to happen is if the elastic band, if your drive is not high enough when you go to bed, you either take a long time to fall asleep or you'll find that you'll wake up throughout the night and your sleep will be very light and very fractured. So it's a bit like building an appetite for sleep. And that appetite is built up simply by time out of bed. The more time you spend out of bed, the higher your sleep drive will be. So the drive is the first thing, and it's really important. The second thing which is important in how well we sleep is our body clock. Now, you'll have all heard of your body clock, and it doesn't just control sleep and wake time. Your body clock also controls hunger, thirst, appetite, when you're hot, when you're cold, temperature. All these different parts of our kind of bodily functions are controlled by the body clock. So in order to sleep well, our body clock needs to be set correctly so that it understands the time for being awake, the time for eating, the time for sleeping. And the more disrupted our sleep pattern becomes, the more our body clock sort of falters and takes on these habits and ends up having these gaps in it. When we should be asleep, we're awake. When we should be awake, we're asleep, etc. So in order to sleep well, we need our drive to be really high to sleep, but it has to be high at the same time as our body clock would expect us to go to bed. So to give you an example of how the two work together, if I was to miss an entire night's sleep for whatever reason, but I got into bed at 8 a.m, my drive to sleep would be really high because I've missed an entire night's sleep, so my appetite for sleep would be huge. But if I went to bed, I would probably only sleep for a couple of hours, and that's because my body clock has no relationship with falling asleep at 8 a.m. and sleeping for 8 hours then. So I'd have a couple of hours sleep, it would be enough to kind of get me by and so that I could survive the day. But my body clock has no relationship with sleeping at that time. So we need to teach our body clocks when to sleep. Just like with a baby, babies are born knowing how to sleep. They're not born knowing when and for how long. And we teach them through a series of kind of behavioural techniques. We teach a baby how to understand when to sleep well. And as an adult, we need to do the same thing. So our drive needs to be really high at the same time as our body clock would be expecting to go to sleep. The third thing that we need to sleep well is a connection with our bed, which is about sleeping. Now, that sounds really obvious, but actually if you are a poor sleeper, bed can become a battleground where actually you start spending lots and lots of time in bed, awake, stressed, frustrated that you're not asleep. And the problem with that is that the more time you spend in bed not feeling relaxed and sleepy, the weaker that connection becomes. And what happens is we build more and more of a connection between bed and these sort of negative feelings. And therefore, when we get into bed, our bed can become about the wrong things. So that connection with our bed is really, really important. So in the CBT for Insomnia program, what we look at is those areas. How can we make sure your drive to sleep is really high at the right time? How can we make sure your body clock is set correctly and your body understands how long you want to sleep for and at what time? And thirdly, how do we tackle the kind of connections that we make with our bed, the anxieties and the worries that we have around sleeping? And how do we ensure that bed and sleep are related in our minds so that we know when we get into bed what we should be doing is sleeping? So those are the 3 things that you need to sleep well. In the next few videos, I'm going to be giving you a few more tips around how to use those areas to improve your sleep. I'm also going to be talking about sleep hygiene and how that can actually make things worse, and how the cycle of poor sleep continues. If you want to learn more or get started in the programme, please visit the insomniaclinic.co.uk. We have a free webinar coming up on Monday the 29th of April. After that one we will be doing them monthly, and you can also you can also watch old webinars from the website as well. The website will give you lots more information about sleep, tips to sleep well, cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia, and why that is the programme that you should be using, and how effective it can be. And we also have an online course. So lots more information on the insomniaclinic.co.uk. And I will be recording some more videos here also. If you want to comment below with anything else that you would like answers to, then I'll be very happy to read those and give you some information that way as well. Thank you.